Hello, friend! Welcome back! Welcome back! Welcome back to another video with your man, Gentleman. And today, I am very excited to share with you guys the conversation that I had with Grace Law. Grace Law is my friend. I can consider her as my childhood friend as well. I've known her since secondary school all the way until now. Look where we are now as adults. And for her career has been, over the years, it's quite a journey. And going through different companies in the advertising world, and doing so many internship during her uni days, and just learning a little bit about her and the experience that she went through. I definitely sort of learned, and got advice from her about this creative industry that we are all in. And it's just a great conversation. So thank you so much, Grace, for doing this. And I can't wait to share with you guys sort of the conversation that I had with her. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
My name's Grace, and right now, what do I do? So, professionally, I am in HR, I guess people would say. But in my company, we call it people operations. So, the term HR, I don't usually like it, because it has a really unpleasant people have like just assumptions, and also when you tell people like, oh, you're in HR, and it's like, oh, you're in HR. So usually I would tell people that I am in people operations, but I think if I were to introduce myself, I would say that I'm in the business of matchmaking people to employers. And
Wait,
also,
but what's the why do you want to like differentiate between like HR and people?
it's the same. The term is the same. Yes and no. HR traditionally is more administrative, and people operations looks into human resources on a more strategic level. So it ties in with more ties HR closer to the business goals instead. Whereas HR is more like your usual admin stuff, your payroll, compliance, things like that, which not so exciting but very important.
Never mind. I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But I guess just maybe talk a little bit about which college you go to, which uni, and your first job. Sort of start from there.
Okay, sure. So in terms of college, I went to Canadian matriculation program. I went to Sunway, and that was my parents have never dictated where I should go.
It's of your own choosing.
Yeah, they just let me choose. And like, and then the geek in me just decided, hey mom, dad, let's go to an education fair. Let's just go look around. And then I went to the booth where the Canadian matriculation program was. They were introducing themselves, and I was just sold. I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Great time. And then so this is where the interesting part comes. After I graduated, I actually wanted to I actually signed up for a liberal arts school in Singapore.
Oh, right.
It was together with Yale and NUS. I don't know if they still exist, but it was a program. They just started, and I thought like, wow, liberal arts, like this is something different. Feels like something I would do. I wanted to major in like history or like sociology or anthropology, things like that, right? Things that your parents would say, yeah, you're not gonna make any money, right?
Right.
But I really wanted to do it.
Okay.
So what happened was I applied, but it took so long because it was newly established, and it took really long for them to get back to me. So I think it took about 6-8 months for them, about 6 months maybe, for them to get back to me. And in between, I was sort of interning, not really interning, more like doing like a side job back in our old high school, like back in my high school.
Right.
So I was just helping out there. And I think at that point, I got really demotivated over time because you're waiting 8 months for some news, right?
That's quite long. Yeah.
And then I didn't apply to any other uni, just sort of put all my eggs in one basket. And then eventually, I think that time was quite tough for me because 8 months you're not really, you see your friends all going to uni and all of that, starting your life, and you're just back in your hometown, sort of like going day by day, and sort of feel like I'm missing out, feel like I'm not catching up, and feel like I'm way behind. So it got a bit stagnant, and then I think over time it just got a bit depressing. Yeah. So when I finally got the news that I was rejected, yeah, I finally got the news, got rejected. It was so, at that point I was really down, and I was really very heartbroken because I got the news. And then, so you know how my parents never really dictated where I should study or what I should. At that point, I was really low, like really, really low. And then my mom was like, okay, that's enough. I'm dragging you to a education counselor. Brought me there, and then, my mom's like, oh, I think you'll do well in comp sci. And then she was talking to the counselor on my behalf. Even she was like, yeah, I think my daughter, she likes to talk and all of that. I think she can do mass comm. So he was like, oh, okay. And then my mom, for some reason she knew this. She was like, I heard Taylor has a good mass comm program. Then she was like asking the counselor like, oh, so how's Taylor's, and all of that. I think it was between like Taylor's, Sunway, Monash, those top universities in terms of mass comm. And then the counselor was like, oh yeah, Taylor's is pretty good, but at that point you kind of need to sort of choose what sort of major and minor that you want, right? Not during your first year, but then he was just explaining to me in Taylor's there's three different sort of domains you can go into, majors you can go into. One was PR, one was advertising, and one was film. I think it was film and
TV.
production, yeah. And then the last one was journalism. Then the guy was like, out of all of that, PR will probably be the most versatile and will probably get you more money. So I was like, okay, I have no opinion. Honestly, my mom just sort of said, okay, just sign her up.
And straight away went to PR.
And then I just went, so I still remember my first day in class in uni. I sat down in the lecture hall. I sat there, I stared in front. I sat in the back because I was just like, I don't know. I was so lost and disoriented. It was so weird. I just suddenly shifted my life from Ipoh all the way to KL. And then I remember my first day uni, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what is this? I don't even know what lecture I was sitting for.
Okay.
I was so lost. But I also feel that, of course, I wouldn't know what lecture I'm sitting for. I've never done PR before. But I felt so disoriented and so lost.
It's very, very new to you now.
I think it wasn't just new. It was because I was sort of plucked out of the very stagnant, very low point in my life, and then sort of placed in this environment where there's new people,
right?
And I'm to learn, and and there's new pressures to like sort of make sure I keep up and all of that. So I think it was just a bit overwhelming. So I remember my first semester was a bit like tough because I was just like, oh my god, I have no friends here. I don't know who am I. I don't know anyone here. I don't know what I'm doing and all of that. So it was a bit tricky.
So after that, how was after in how many years was it in uni?
3 years.
3 years.
In Taylor's, yeah.
How was that experience, and then leading to your first job as well?
Okay, so things got better eventually. I made friends, really worked through uni, like just really, I was an absolute nerd. I was an absolute nerd. You can, if I asked my housemate back then, he would tell me like, oh my gosh, you were such a nerd back then. I would study from, kids don't do this at home, it's very dangerous. I would study from 8 a.m. all the way until 2 a.m. at night.
Wow.
I would just do every assignment straight away, and I would put like 110% in like everything. Because I think, I think my second year, if I'm not mistaken, I got the PTPTN scholarship.
Oh.
So then it's even more pressure, like, oh, I don't want to give the loan back, I got to make
Yeah.
sure that I get first class honors. So I worked really, really hard. And so leading to my first job, before how I landed my first job, right? During uni, every time there was a major holiday, like a 3-month break, usually they'll give you, right?
Yep.
Between the years, I never went home. So I would always go intern instead. I would tell a lot of people like, you need to go and intern, and I would read advice from from a lot of professionals who say like, get as much exposure as possible. So internships are really a good way to do that. So I just interned like hell. I just first I was a PR intern because I wanted to see like, oh, how is it? Do I really like this? What am
Okay.
I actually signing up for?
Yep.
And then after that, I was a fashion intern because I watched The Devils Wear Prada way too many times, and I thought like, oh yeah, I wanna be in fashion. So I went to intern as a fashion intern at Elle magazine under Mongoose Publishing.
Yep.
And then after that, during my final semester, I was interning for an ex-colleague of mine for my first intern. So she left and she started her own independent sort of PR company, and she brought me on to she needed interns, so she brought me on. So during my final semester, I was interning and studying and doing my final thesis at the same time.
Right.
So that was crazy, but it was so good because I got to work with her on some cool things. One of it was the French Art and Film Festival here in KL. So that was really nice. And actually that I would tell people to intern because, one, not only are you getting the experience, but two, you kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like. So I figure I don't want to be in PR. That is definitely not where I want to be. And but I also think that you get to network a lot during your internships. You get to meet people, and it's the time where you kind of show what you're capable of, and if you're good enough, they might offer you a job.
Yep.
So obviously I didn't go back to the companies that I interned for. not that I had terrible experiences, maybe some, but I just didn't want to go back because I knew it wasn't an avenue that I wanted to go into. But I got friends out of it. I got connections out of it. So how I landed my first job after uni, I was back in Ipoh. 2 months break, I decided, okay, let me just take a break. Obviously, mom started nagging, like, oh, you need to find a job. And then I wasn't even looking, to be honest. My friend reached out to me. Also another ex-colleague from, I think it was my first internship place as well, which was the PR company. So he was doing strategy for a startup. It was a startup for a advertising. So there's two divisions. The startup has, one division was an advertising tech company that was funded by investors, and the other part of it, the other division is a digital advertising agency.
But it's under the same umbrella.
It's under the same umbrella, under the same family.
But it's just two different.
Yes. The reason why there is two different divisions is because the founders, the four of them, all came from an advertising agency background. And even though they wanted to create this ad tech startup that was creating some sort of, they were building some sort of advertising platform. But they wanted to bring that agency sort of spirit and also the kind of work that they do in the agency. They wanted to bring it as on board to their company as well. So they created another division, which was where we pitch to clients and try to win campaigns and projects. So that was where I was in. So my friend reached out to me and said like, hey, I'm in this new company right now, and this is what we do, and we're looking for graduate trainees. I feel like you'll be good, like this is something will be good for you, like why don't you just try it. So in case you don't know what a graduate trainee program is, basically you do like a rotation between different departments, right? So the 3 different departments I was placed in was actually all of them were placed in creative, which was between design and copywriting, account servicing, and also strategy and data analytics. So I went through all three. But basically, yeah, it was really funny. My friend said, like, hey, come, So did a phone interview. Then the guy was like, okay, can you come to KL next week to interview? So I was like, oh, okay. So I remember I went for the interview on a Tuesday. I brought my mom along. So she traveled from Ipoh to KL with me. And then we took a train. I remember this. We took a train from Subang to Ampang. And then it was in the Intermart. So she waited downstairs in the lobby. I went upstairs to interview.
Oh.
I came back down and then I said, oh, Mom, I got the job. I have to start next week, Monday. I only have this many days left and then I have to like move to KL. So it was a scramble. It was just insane. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it was, I guess, how did sort of like the first job, and how, like, did you ever sort of think that advertising was the way for you when you first after graduated?
Not at
Because you were
all.
in PR, right?
Yeah, I was in PR. I honestly didn't know what I was gonna do.
Actually, those like subjects, was internship part of like the uni subjects, or was it sort of your own interest of wanting to try different companies?
So one of the internships, yes, it was part of the syllabus that you have to go for an internship for 3 months. But the other two internships was really on my own because I'm just overly ambitious and I'm just like, I read a lot of like, career advice and they're like, oh, you should intern, and I was like, oh, okay, I should. So I decided to go, try it out.
But I think at the end of the day, it sort of narrowed down your career path also, because you get those experience, you get to know the type of companies, like for fashion or for VR, for advertising, you sort of know. Yeah, so I guess that's a good thing to do during your uni days, right?
Yeah, because you have nothing to lose, you have also nothing to do, right? So I will always tell people, like, especially the younger people, go and internship, go try different things, go and do different things, fail, see whether you like it or not. You have nothing to lose because there's nothing at stake. You don't have a house to pay, you don't have a car to pay, you don't have babies to feed. You just go and do things while you're still young, because that's the time when you really figure out like what you want.
And yeah, so how was your first work experience, and how many years were you there in the company?
Oh my god, it was really okay. So first work experience was great in the sense that people were great. I was learning a lot. It was really just it was just almost fish out of water. I think my first week I was just like, whoa. It was really small. There was only like, I think there were only 8 of us in total. It was we had an entire floor to ourselves. It was only 8 people.
It was more like a startup sort of situation, right?
Such a startup. It was so small. And then there was like a few people. Some of the founders were in Singapore. So it was in Singapore and then Malaysia. So HQ was in, I wouldn't even say HQ is in Singapore, but it started in Singapore. How was it? It was good. The management trainee program, the graduate trainee program was it was really good. Like, you get to expose yourself to different departments and you kind of see what your strengths are. I thought that, oh yeah, the creative, you would think out of all three, right? Account servicing, creative, and then strategy and data analytics, the creative one would be the most fun one, right? It was, I think I remember that out of all three, that was the one that I suffered the most because I was put up to do copywriting. And I don't know if people know about the creative industry, but the number of times you get rejected,
yeah,
it's so heartbreaking, right? I remember my creative director was like, can you write this line 10 times? Give me 10 different options. And then they'll just reject all 10 of it. And then you have to do it all over again. And I remember, like, staying up really late, trying to rewrite something, to the point that I was the last one there. My creative director walked in and then I just cried. I was just like, I cannot do this. I'm like so tired. And then he's like, why are you here? Why are you okay? Like, why? Like, if you can't do it, like, just ask for help. Like, stop, let it go. And I was just like, yeah, that's another lesson that I learned. to let go of things. So then he was like, then my CEO walked in and was like, what's going on? Then I was like, oh no, I just cannot do this. I can't write this line, you know. I was so frustrated and I just cried. And then they brought me out for dinner because I'm so sorry for me.
Grace.
but I was a very hard worker, and I think they saw it, and they were, you know, they were good. They treated us really well. It grew to a much bigger company. It was really fun because it was a startup, you know, anything and everything goes. That's how startups are, right? But you know, that sort of, in a way, we were living in sort of a fantasy as well, because we were also funded by investors from somewhere. I don't know, I've never met them. So the thing about getting funding for a startup, right, investors have very specific milestones for you that you have to hit in order to get more funding. So they don't release like a big chunk of money to you. They'll release it periodically. So at first we had so much money to blow. It was so crazy. We did all sorts of things, you know. We were drinking a lot, and then what was it? We had parties, you know, every time during some sort of festival, or like Christmas, Hari Raya, Chinese New Year, we had some sort of like big fancy like party. And then, you know, we I remember one time my CEO called like a Heineken like beer tap into the office. For Halloween, he asked us one day. He just asked us to all stop working during Halloween, and then he just said, "Stop working. We need to go out now. There's a surprise outside. I need you to go to this address." And then when we got there, he was like, "Okay, everyone is given 150 ringgit right now, and you guys get to rent your costume for Halloween. When we get back, we're gonna play games, and there's alcohol and food and all that shit." I was just like,
Wow.
but yeah, we really blew through the money a lot. My founders. And obviously, you know, that was a huge mistake on their part. They didn't account for, they were young, okay? They were only like 28, 30 years old, which is which is now my age. So I'm just thinking back like, wow, I don't think if I had that much money and I was this young, I would have made mistakes as well. So wouldn't blame them, but the company shut down. At first, actually, it became pretty grim, because at first they announced that, okay, it seems like the development team that was building that platform wasn't hitting the milestones, so the investors weren't very happy. And then you know, they decided to reduce the funds, and then there was a retrenchment. So I think 10 people were let go, which was really, really sad to see. And then, you know, morale went down. And then I remember my CEO saying that, okay, guys, the rest of us that were still left, we have 6 months or 3 to 6 months of you know, our runway. We need to, you know, make sure that we make this much, and, you know, we need to catch up here in terms of our development and all of that for the platform, but also on the agency side, we need to make X amount of money. And for some reason, we thought like, okay, it seems like it's a scary period, but we're all in this together. And it was within the people, we had good spirits, we had a good team, but there was no drama, no politics. We were all working really well from the start. So then what happened was, I don't know, for some reason, one month later, my CEO called us all into the room and just said that, okay, guys, unfortunately, we're going to close. Yeah, so that was so shocking. It was like, wow, my first job and the company's closing down. I was just like, what is going on? I was really shocked. And then, yeah, I didn't know what to do. I think everyone was just in shock. We were just like, oh my god, we're gonna lose a job and all that. I think they paid us an additional 1 month pay, and that was it. And then we all just sort of parted ways. Yeah.
I guess that's sort of the nature of startup, right? Sometimes it will work, or sometimes, based on investors, if they say they can't see any result, then they will halt a lot of all the operations. And
Yeah, it's really, I didn't know that, you see. When we were in uni, we thought like, oh, startups are cool, and the whole startup culture, everybody wants to join a startup. But I don't think people realize how risky and how volatile it is. And that really hit me. And then after that point, I was like, wow, so this is the reality of things. And then I told myself that I wouldn't want to join a company that is very that is heavily funded by investors, that always have to go pitch for funding, because that's very scary. If you don't get the funding, you're gonna close.
yeah.
Yeah.
So did you manage to since you were a great graduate trainee, did you manage to go all 3 divisions?
I did. I was lucky. So I was there for a year and 3 months before the company closed. I went through all 3 of them. So I was in account servicing. Oh, that was crazy. There was only one account director, and then there were 2 of us in as an account exec, right? So we were servicing clients. For some reason, because there weren't a lot of people, right? One of the pitches was to a pharmaceutical company in India, in Bangalore. I think during my 2nd month in the company, I flew with my CEO, and my 2 other founders to India to go pitch to the CEO of that company. It's a huge pharmaceutical company. I can't remember what's the name, but if I were to bring it up to someone in Bangalore, they would have heard it.
Right.
It's a huge pharmaceutical company there, and that was quite crazy. Flew to Bangalore 24 hours and then came back again. That was my second week my first or second week in the job as well. I had to go pitch to one of the big development companies here. I can't remember what is it called, but yeah, it was like my CEO was telling my account director, okay, sit down with her. I want her to go pitch. Like literally the day of the pitch, they just sent me there. Like I wasn't even prepared. I didn't know the details. I'd never seen the presentation in my life.
And just straight.
And just like, I want you to go pitch. I was like, what? But and then I need you to do this slide and that slide, and then basically my account director sat down with me for hours and prepped me to like until the moment I went and pitched. Everything on the same day. So from the get-go, I was thrown into like the deep end as well. So I went through all 3 of them. I did copywriting in the creative department, and then I also, that was fun. I had a mentor there for copywriting, and it was good. Like I got to find sort of my voice, like how I want to how do I sound like when I write. Every copywriter has their own sort of like unique tone.
Yeah.
And then the last one was in strategy and data analytics. That was tough. I'm not an Excel genius. I'm not great at numbers, but I had a Korean manager. So it was my CEO's wife. She's very good at numbers and all that. So we sort of made up the data analytics team, and we were doing things like social listening, where we were going through social media data and comments and all of that to pick out like insights to form our strategy for pitches. So I was in that team, did pretty good, and I kind of like strategy. I realized that I really do like strategy a lot. I was pretty good at it. And then what happened? Oh yeah, and then for some reason after the 9 months, they placed me in a role which was media and data analytics. And I don't know what that means. It seems like I was in charge of, I think because at that time I was also in charge of doing a lot of media, like paid media campaigns, and I was doing...
Is it mainly like digital or traditional as well?
Digital. So it's all digital. It was all on Google, on social media, Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, somehow I was just placed there, and I was like, oh, okay, kind of strange. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but okay. I just was like, sure, I guess I would do it. But I just felt at that point that not really me, because I don't feel like data is my strong suit. I'm not very logical and sorry, I'm not very analytical. Not to say not logical, but I'm not very analytical when it comes to numbers. So I thought like, oh, I feel like I was in the wrong placement, but I just went along with it because I was very much into the strategy part of things, which came with it. So I thought like, just sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and just write it out and see what happens.
Yeah. So after learning what you learned from the agency, how did you sort of based on your experience, look for the next job or try to find like what based on your interests and
Okay. So when the company closed down, right, I was just like, oh my god, what should I do? Don't really want to go into no, the problem was I spent very little time in media or media buying or doing data analytics. And then you have I spent like 3 months in copywriting, 3 months in account servicing. So I was neither here nor there, and it was a very weird period of my time as well. Right? You're sort of going through you did 3 months of each thing.
it was more like an internship or something.
Yeah, it was more like an internship. So then you're sort of like, oh, where would I fit in? So I remember I sat down with the HR person, and he was very good. He helped me out, and he just said, okay, just sort of write a mind map of like, what is it that you like in the past 1 year and 3 months in this company, and just sort of map out like which direction you want to go to. So I ended up following a more strategic path. So I realized that, oh, okay, I really want to do strategy, and probably in advertising, marketing, because I was already in an ad agency, right? So digital ad agency. I thought, okay, maybe I could try that out. I'm open. What happened next was, so the HR person actually sort of send my profile, my CV to a few companies out there. I also got in touch with a recruiter, like a recruiting agency, and yeah, I interviewed at a few places, if I'm not mistaken, but the person, when he sent my profile out, one of them actually came back. So it was an ad agency as well, digital ad agency called Bonzi Jaden, and they came back. The operations director saw my profile, loved it, and just said, hey, we're gonna interview you. So for I think it was a junior strategic planner role. Yeah. So interviewed me, and there were 3 rounds. One, I had to go through a phone interview with the operations director. After that, I had to the second round was tough. So the second round, I had to prepare a strategic plan for I think it was for Fitness First.
Oh, wow.
Regionally. So I've never done something like that. I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna wing it. Let's see. Let's just try it out. So I came up with a full-blown proposal, and I've never done one independently by myself. So I just thought, like, what's there to lose? I've had experience before. Let's just try it out. And they loved it as well. So thank God for that. And then after that, the last one was an interview with the strategic director. So she was just asking me questions, and also I had to present the presentation to her. So yeah, and after that, that was really tough. That was really tough because when I did that whole strategic presentation, that test task that they gave me, I was also doing freelance work. Doing like you see, I just never stopped. Right? Get more experience. But I was doing freelance work, doing media reports, social media reports for a smaller company. I don't know how I got that job. I think someone recommended me, and then they got in touch with me. I don't know how, don't remember. And then I was also still finishing up work for my company that is supposedly going to close down. But, clients still need the
Yeah.
job done, right? So I did all of that. I was juggling all of that. But I got the job. So I joined Bossy Jaden as a strategic planner. And it was fun because, it was a regional company as well. So they have an office in each country in Southeast Asia, and I got to work on many interesting client pitches there. Yeah.
So how many years were you there, and what are sort of things that you do as a strategic planner?
I was there for about a little over 2 years. I was actually doing a lot. What was I doing? I was doing a lot of
Proposals,
proposal.
pitching.
Yeah, I did a lot of pitch decks. I was so pro. I went in not knowing how to use Google Slides. I came out being a Google Slide pro. I can design a slide like nobody's business. It's almost like muscle memory to me, and they really my boss was also very tough. She was one of the most difficult people to like work with, and everyone feared her in the company. And they always said like, oh, if you can survive working with her, you can survive anything out there. Because she was really, really tough. When I joined, there were only 3 of us. There was her, there was another strat planner in Singapore who was more senior, and then there was me. Then the senior strat planner was going to go on maternity leave. The 1 week, my first week. I was like, what? So it was just me and the strategic director, and I was like, it was really tough. I didn't know what I was doing at first. I think I got scolded so many times because I was like, I don't know what this is. And she had no time or patience to guide me. So you gotta just figure it out. They had a lot of reference proposals, and you just sort of have to pick it up, learn as fast as possible, and just adapt. So I was doing that for 1 year. It was really interesting, the clients that we got, because it wasn't just Southeast Asia. I got clients from Hong Kong. I think there was one in China. But, we were sort of even the States as well. We were getting clients from different places. And it was quite fun to work on that exposure you get.
And connections as well.
Yeah, connections as well. A few notable pitches. I did research actually. No, this was a paid proposal. I did research for Burberry, Southeast Asia, and also for Hong Kong, Taiwan, China. No, I think just Hong Kong and Taiwan, and then Southeast Asia. So we were doing this research, and I collaborated with another agency in Hong Kong to do this. It was a research sort of proposal to show that what is the potential avenues that we can go into to market to local to all these different countries. Because to these big brands, right, like Burberry, they're not going to care so much about Malaysia and Philippines and all of that, because the money is actually in China. And that's, they are one of the biggest markets that they have. So we were commissioned by I think it was the Burberry head in Hong Kong to sort of do this proposal. And it was to show to HQ that, there's actually potential here. Yeah, that was actually quite fun. But it was really tough because there was so much research that went into it. I didn't even get to pitch. My director flew to Hong Kong and pitched to the person. And sadly, the person that commissioned us left. And then we had to go and pitch to someone else. And obviously she didn't commission it. Obviously she wasn't interested. So I was just like... Right. But we did a second proposal after that. To sort of... a proper proposal on like what the campaign would be. Didn't get it, but it was okay. I think they just... didn't see the potential in the markets here.
Did you sort of have to change, or you're just like re-pitching the same thing again.
The first pitch was basically showing the market potential. The second pitch was more of a creative pitch on what we can do. But obviously, I don't know what really happened. It was, a change of people in management, and also, I guess maybe our ideas weren't as strong. It was a big brand. I guess they wanted a bit more wow, more pizzazz and whatnot, and we just didn't have it, so it was fine. We worked with IKEA and Nikano as well. That was quite interesting. Also, a research paper, and then after that, a proposal. And then we also, I also pitched to Netflix.
Oh.
Yeah.
For the APAC region or?
For the Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia.
We were invited to pitch, so that we were one of the companies. I think there were 3 companies that were invited. So this was quite crazy because Netflix sent an email to my CEO saying that, oh, you're invited to come pitch, and we're like, oh, okay. No one was available to take the pitch except me, so I got the opportunity to. The problem with that was, at that time, I was also pitching to, if I'm not mistaken, Tune Hotels under Asia. So I was working in tandem, and it was really tough. I think I did not sleep for 3 days because we were just trying to finish 2 pitches at once, and it was so heavy. The Netflix one was really tough because they really wanted to know a lot of local insights. And to be honest, looking back, we were not very strong with that. We didn't display knowledge of actually knowing the local market very well. And to be honest, we didn't have enough resources in terms of people to do that research, to properly do that research. Everything was just rushed. So I was in Bonsi Jayden for little over 2 years. I only did strategy for the first year. I loved it, and I also hated it. It was really tough because the manager was also very tough to work with. The work was very demanding. I worked on weekends a lot, and I was the only strategist in Malaysia, in the Malaysian office for the longest time, and I did almost every single pitch that came my way.
Tough was it? Is because on the sort of like ideas that you have to put into it, or it's more towards the more towards like you have to juggle with different campaigns? Or
so the campaigns never stop, right? But then the thing about being a strategist, you pitch, and then you get to continuously strategize for a campaign, or strategize for the client. But then I realized a lot of the work I was doing was just constantly pitching. We were pitching for like new businesses all the time. It was very exhausting. There was never any downtime. Once I was done with one pitch, I had to move on to the next already. It was like assignment after assignment, and it was just non-stop. And it got very exhausting because my boss was very demanding, and it was more like
was it based on like timeline you have to reach to a certain?
Yeah, we had 3 days to do a pitch.
Wow.
And it was ridiculous. It was almost unheard of. You should actually invest more time in doing proper research to get insights. But the research that we did, I find that it was, looking back, I thought it was just it wasn't proper. It was things that we found on the internet. We do like dipstick surveys, and it wasn't proper research, and it was just based on insights and things that we've read. And then my boss used to tell me like, oh, you should read more and all that. Sure, I would love to if I had the time, but it was always constant. There was no downtime, and it's not that I didn't want to read. I was just sort of struggling to keep up. And because she wasn't the nurturing type, it was sort of like, okay, you gotta go fend for yourself and just sort of catch up, and or if not get lost, that sort of thing. So mental health wise, it took a toll. Physically health wise, it also took a toll as well. You didn't sleep, you didn't eat properly, you were always stressed, working non-stop. from morning until late at night. So my uni schedule came back start from 8, until 2 a.m. in the morning, like almost every day. It was not stop.
Was this sort of like the agency life that everyone was talking about, or was more towards the company, that sort of culture that they had?
I can't speak for all agencies because I don't know how other agencies work. I've never been into a traditional agency. Bonsi was more of a start-up-ish kind of company as well when I first started, and then it grew to 50 people. But I think people say that agency life is very grueling because clients can be very demanding. But I would say it's mostly on the creative and account servicing side, because the account servicing is always taking demands from clients.
Right.
Clients that are very demanding, like your telco clients, right? For example. And then the creators have to churn out work, whether it's a piece of copy or, whether it's a post or whatever it is, right? Visual. They have to churn it out. And, clients have no mercy. I want this now. If not, like, we will, get rid of you.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. On the strat side, because I was pitching, I think it was just very demanding because we were always looking for business, We were also funded by investors as well. And over time, I started realizing that, so there is a pattern to it. When you're funded by investors, right, obviously there's going to be some sort of, milestones that you're going to hit as well. How much you have to make in terms of revenue. And we weren't looking at the numbers, they try to be transparent with us, but looking at the numbers, it wasn't, we weren't doing that great. I don't know why. Maybe we were just not that good, but we got big clients though. It's just, okay, I wouldn't say we weren't that good, but what happened was, when clients ask for work, they're very fast, but when it comes to paying the agencies and the people that do the work, oh my gosh, they take really long. There is usually a 90-day period for them to pay the agency back, and they sometimes they just owe us money. So the cash flow was a problem.
I think it's pretty common in the industry.
And for any business, if you are very dependent on getting money from outside, right? If that wasn't a problem, maybe we wouldn't have to, work at that pace. But the cash flow was such a huge problem that I would always hear things like, oh, we don't have enough money, and pay was late and things like that, right? So it was just very demanding. It was very grueling. My manager had no mercy. If you are sick or whatever, I expect you to work unless you're dying.
Right.
Yeah.
So was Strat like? Was there like a research team that helped you, or?
I was the research team. I was the research team. I was the strategist. I was the one-man show in the company. Obviously my strat director helped, but she's all the way in Singapore. I see her maybe once every 2 weeks. Yeah, so it was just tough. Like, I didn't know who to go for help. No one really knows how to do what I do within the company in Malaysia, in the office in Malaysia.
And pitching also is quite tough because there's a lot of different areas that you have to focus on. Like, I think it's a 60-page sort of slide that you have to present.
Oh, we do like 100-page slide every time. It was just insane. You start from, you see his muscle memory coming back again. You start from, what's the problem statement, then after that you have to figure out like who's the target audience, what is the market like, what are competitors like, then you want to sort of tie everything back together, create a story, create a narrative, and then you want to go into what is the strategy. Is it a channel strategy? Is it a communication strategy? Or is it an offline strategy? What are the different media we want to go into? What is the budget and all of that? So it's like one giant package, and it was just full on. And we were very known for our presentations. We were very good at coming up with presentation decks, like just amazing. If you ask other, look at other agencies, right? and people always say this. They say that our presentation decks were really good. It was so concrete in every way.
And you had to come under 3 days to finish that deck.
It was 3 days because on the 4th day you have to get back to the creators and be like, okay, this is the strategy, I need you to follow it. So in total they would, but they have it even worse. They have about like maybe 2-3 days. So maybe we have like about 7, a little over a week to do it. But you gotta factor changes. You gotta factor the time that the creators need. That's why I said we only have about a 3-day window. But 3 days to do the research, right? And then after that we had to tell the creators what the strategy is, and then in between that, when the creators are doing the work, taking the strategy and like conceptualizing, another pitch comes in and I have to start doing that already.
Right.
And it was just non-stop. And then once the creators are done, they present it back to us. There might be changes and we have to go and change it again while juggling the other pitch that I was researching on. That's why I'm saying it was like non-stop, and it was such a, I don't know, I felt it was such a crazy and unhealthy pace. But I would say that being in an agency would teach you one thing. Two things actually. It'll teach you how to work fast, and it'll teach you how to be resilient.
And I guess time management is sort of very important, right?
When you're young, right, you don't know how to manage your time. No one does. Yeah.
I guess, after that, grueling 2 years, what made you wanted to, change and find a new challenge for you? And how do you move into your current job, right?
Yeah. But like, everyone must be wondering, how on earth did I end up in strategy as a strategic planner and then end up in HR? And every time when I tell people that, they're just like, they just give me the same reaction. They're like, why? First of all,
it's quite bizarre.
I know. Everyone tells me that. They're like, why would you do that?
But I sort of see though, like, strategy and HR. I mean, like, what people, how do you call it? People operations.
People operations. Yeah.
So I guess there is some similarities in I mean, like, coming out strategies, but for people.
Yeah. So I think people have a very bad association with HR. They always think, when they think of HR, they think of
payroll.
They think of very boring things. They think, oh, such a boring job. Like, why would anyone do HR? And also, they think of like things like, they think of that naggy admin auntie. That's what they think of. They think like, oh, HR. They're like, you're in HR? Like, it's sort of, it's almost frowned upon, which is so sad. But, okay, so what happened was, my year during that 1 year I was doing strategy, I was in this company, right? First of all, the company became very toxic over time. The culture was became really bad. It was great, and then somehow we grew very fast, and the culture sort of, everyone sort of lost their way, and it became a bit of a toxic culture. And not just that, it was just becoming very dull. And everyone was out, for themselves. And I was just talking to one of my coworkers, right? He was from a startup before. I think it was Service Hero, and his name's Courtney. Great person. Now back in New Zealand with his wife and kids. So I just sat down with him. I'm like, he was in the branding side of the company, not the advertising side. So he was a brand strategist, and then I told him that I said, the culture here is just so, I just don't feel like this is the right culture. Like, something's just not right, something's not right. And he was like, yeah, I agree. Like, you just don't get that sort of culture where everyone's in this together, and we are working for a common cause. There is not a lot of like healthy debate. There's not a lot of like learning as well, which was really like sad. I just felt that, I just feel like, oh, I wish I could do something more about this. But obviously I was too caught up with like my strat job, right? I couldn't do anything. I didn't have the time to sort of step up and say, hey, let's do something with the culture here. But at that point, I was just sort of throwing that idea to him. I was like, why is it that it's only the hijab people who are sort of determining the culture? Actually, no, hijab people don't even determine the culture. Traditionally, here in Malaysia, hijab people are just there to sort of, help you file your, help you with your payroll, they help you with your compliance, EPF, SOCSO, things like that. They hire, they make sure that the pantry is well stocked, things like that, right? And I said, I'm very keen on building a very inclusive culture, and a culture where people are happy to come to the workplace. They feel that they can be creative here. They feel that they can learn and exchange ideas. I want that sort of culture. And I was I also at that point, if I'm not mistaken, either at that point or before that, I read a book as well by the founder of Pixar. The book was, I think, called Imaginary Ink or something like that. Very good book. I would recommend it. That book changed my life because that book sort of explained the culture that was in Pixar. How everyone was involved and everyone could sort of share their creativity and be creative in every way, and that's how they foster that sort of way of thinking. And you get amazing movies out of that, you get a lot of amazing production and great place to work. And I just told him, I was like, we're in a creative industry. The advertising industry is a creative industry, and we should have a culture like that. It shouldn't be a culture where we're just grinding work. It's sad because honestly, in an agency, what I see is, yes, there is maybe a bit of a creative element to it. The creators, the copywriters and the designers would have the most creative work, but at the end of the day, they're just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. Like they're just milking whatever creative essence they have, but it's not. It doesn't come naturally. It doesn't come collaboratively. It comes very forced because they have a deadline. They have a client to answer to, and I don't know, maybe that's just how the agency life is built. It's just grind and grind. You're just there to service the client. But I feel like that shouldn't be the way. And obviously I won't speak for all agencies. Maybe other agencies are different and they're more, they foster creativity in a different way. But I just thought that I wish I could change something about this. And I remember I was very upset about it. I called my operations director. I drove all the way to her house and I said, I need to tell you something. I went to her house and I said that, I told her what was wrong with the culture. I said, something's not right. I basically pointed things out. I said, we are not, we are in a creative industry, but we're not fostering that. We're not allowing a safe space for people to be creative, and a safe space for people to voice their opinions and all of that. And then she sort of realized that as well. So I think they try to take action and whatnot. But, going back to how I got from strat to HR, right? Courtney was like, you could go into it as well. There is strategy in everything that we do, to be honest. I think people think that, what does a strategic planner do? What I did was really for strategic planning for marketing and advertising purposes. There is strategy in everything that we do, even when you are doing production, or even if you're doing engineering, or even if you're doing I don't know, law, whatever. There is strategy is it's just basically
It's a fundamental sort of.
Yeah, it's fundamental. It's just a way of thinking and planning, right? the keyword here is really just planning and you know, what is the plan of attack, how do we do things. So I thought, yeah, how far-fetched would it be? But you see, what happened was 1 year later, I was burnt out completely. I was so burnt out. I was very down. I went through a depressive phase as well. And I just thought, that's enough. I cannot keep doing this to myself. One day, I just woke up. Actually, no, I went back to my hometown, had a break. The Netflix pitch actually broke me.
Oh.
I didn't sleep for 3 days. I wanted to win the Netflix pitch so badly, but then there was another pitch that was in the way. I didn't have enough time. I felt very disappointed with myself. I'm like, you know what? That's it. If I cannot do my best in something, and if I was harming myself, I wouldn't want to do it anymore. So I went back to Ipoh. I thought about it. I came back. I didn't tell my boss, the strategic director. I called the operations director because I was closer to her. I came back. I remember this was like January 2nd or something like that. It was a new year. I called her. I was crying. I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm actually going to resign. I had no job. I had no plan. I don't know what the hell I was going to do.
You just know that you want to leave.
I just want to know. I want to leave. I want to leave the company. I want to leave the boss. I wanted to, you know, I just couldn't take the lifestyle anymore, and it was just really tough, and I was just very unhappy. So I was burnt out, and then so I resigned. Obviously, the boss, my strategic director, was not happy, but she understood. She spoke to me, and I was like, okay. And then I resigned. I was serving my notice, and then I was like, shit, what do I do now? Right. And then my operations director at that point, I think she was she was she was told to start actually go into more of a HR sort of role instead of this operations, because she sort of did anyway. She looked after everything, HR as well. And so, but she wasn't fully in HR at that time. And then I don't know how, I think the second month of my notice, she just said that, would you want to do this? Like, because she asked me like, what do I want to do and all that. I said, I might go into HR. I think I did interview with other companies. I didn't apply. Other companies sort of headhunted me as well. Because of a strat. You see, the strat role, right? It's a gold mine. If you're very good at it, people will look for you. It was, and people are like, oh, why are you quitting? You're walking away from this, like, you could do so well and all that. But I'm like, I'm not happy. Why should I stay? So what happened was, she just proposed, like, I'm gonna go into a HR role. And we're gonna start the HR. There was no HR, by the way. There was an admin lady doing payroll, but there was no HR. So she and I sort of just formed this, and I was all of a sudden, so after my notice, I was placed into a HR role. And it was really funny because I've never done HR. I decided I'm just gonna try it out. You see, just try it out. If you fail or make mistakes, it's fine. I've never done HR before, and I decided, you know what, fuck it, let's just try it, right? We both went into it. She's not a super pro at it, but we thought, like, you know what, we can figure it out. It's fine. Let's start this. We started a department together with my managing director, sort of overseeing things. But so she was sort of people and HR director, and I for some reason I was given a manager title, not because I was managing someone, but because I was taking care of HR for the entire region.
Oh.
So
okay.
All of a sudden, from a strat planner handling regional projects in Malaysia, I was taking over basically HR for the entire region. And I was like, wow, what am I doing?
Because it was new, right, for the company as well.
Yeah, no one had it. So we had to revise a lot of things. We looked at contracts. I did a lot of hiring, so much of it. I was so sick of it. We did a lot of, things for culture and sort of rewrite policies as well. So that was a good thing. So I was doing a lot of recruitment most of the time. Just certain I didn't get the full exposure of HR, right? And then what happened was, yeah, I did HR there for I guess a year, 1 year. Things just went sour towards the end. We just realized that the management, wasn't on board with a lot of things that we wanted to propose, and there was just the toxic culture wouldn't really go away. And I guess at the end of it, we just couldn't see change in this place. They were just so fixated on how things were. And I thought that there was a blowout, and my manager, the HR director, just resigned. Things got worse, and then I resigned 1 month after. And at that point, also no plan as well. I just decided let's just wing it again.
And how was that that relationship with your strat manager?
We just became kept my distance with her. Professionally, I don't really, couldn't work with her. Personally, not really a fan of her. Not a lot of people were a fan of her. I respected her because she was, in a tough position. She was strategic director, but then she moved on to become, I think, COO. She was good. She was, she was a powerhouse. She was very respectable. But as a person, I just couldn't respect her, and I just thought but we just stay professional, and that's it.
Right. Okay. So after that 1 year doing HR for the company, and then you left, and how long did you sort of wait and find sort of the new job that you're currently in?
You see, every time that I am in every job that I've gotten, and almost every job that I've gotten, I've never applied for it. Even my current job, I swear to God, there must be some sort of angel looking out after me, because
it was mainly through connections, right? I mean, it's mainly from
No, it was really random. So I remember I was doing an extra on in a video, on a ad shoot, a video shoot for one of the ads we were doing for Pocky, for my old agency, right, Bond CJ. And so there I was an extra, and they were like, oh, can you just do this? I was like, I'm sure, why not? I had nothing better to do. So I decided, okay, I'll just go for it. And then all of a sudden I was serving my notice. It was in the middle of my 3-month notice again, right? Serving it, I was like, shit, I don't know what am I doing? I haven't applied to anything yet. I'm like, And at that point, a lot of the HR jobs wasn't very appealing either. So what happened was, it was so weird. I suddenly got a message on LinkedIn. My current boss, so the co-founder, who's also the head of people as well, she reached out to me on LinkedIn. She's like, hey, I like your profile and all that. Do you want to come out for a coffee, just for a chat? I was like,
oh wow,
this is damn strange. And then
also
very dodgy. But okay, I searched the company. I've never heard of them. Don't know who she is. But I thought, you know what? Let's just go for it. What is there to lose? The worst thing it could be is, she works for a brothel. So, or a drug lord or whatever. So then I thought, let's just go for coffee, and I did. And yeah, one thing led to another. It was good. Went for an interview. So that was also a 3-part interview. It was her with having coffee with her. She sort of spoke to me, and it was very casual, but also she sort of just chat with me, and just told me about the job. Then I had to do a Google form and there were just many questions. You know, it's sort of, the form was it was an email interview where you have to basically just answer the questions, and it was just to test how you think. And then I went to the office and I interviewed with the chief design officer, which was based in Australia, so it was a screen, and I interviewed with the HR admin person. So they didn't have a proper, you know, HR person, HR generalist. So they were hiring for that. So I joined them as a HR generalist. Yeah. And I've been there for 2 years, almost 3 months. 2 years, almost 3 months now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So how is it like working there, and you know, as part of the people operations, what are the things that you sort of do, and what are the sort of culture that you sort of wanting to instill in the company? Did you have any like sort of colleagues to work with?
So I started with a small team. The team was actually quite small when I first joined, as in the entire team. I think there was only like 25, 30 people. We're now 50 people. There was one person who was doing a lot of the admin work. She was in my team. She handles all the payroll, compliance,
The usual stuff.
the nagging admin lady. But she was handling all of that, because when I interviewed with my boss Rachel, I told her that I can't do payroll. I don't really do like compliance and admin stuff. I don't know how to do that. Not really a big fan of it either. I wanted to look into more of the people development and the culture. And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm hiring for. I'm like, great, we're on the same page. So I was, there was the HR admin lady, and the person, my coworker, and then there was me. So at that point I was looking into a lot of recruitment, just because we were trying to scale the company and trying to get more people in. So I was doing a lot. Yeah, my first year was a lot of recruitment, but also a lot of culture things, as in like we did you know, organize, you know, activities, team building, things like that, right? First year was sort of finding my footing again, because I think when in between of moving from my current job to my previous job and to my current job, I was also at a very low point as well. I was sort of like disoriented, lost myself, wasn't really sure what I'm doing, and I told myself that, you know what, like, get it together, and, you know, sort of figure out like and sort of pull yourself together to do this. So my first year went by like such a blur. I was doing, you know, rewriting contracts, you know, looking into policies, a lot of recruitment. For some reason, a lot of recruitment.
Do you have to like sort of have prior knowledge for all these like sort of policies and contracts that you do?
It would help if you know contract law, for sure.
Because I think for HR, usually you have to sit in for like getting a cert to get recognized or something like that, to be part of the HR, I guess.
You don't have to. There are bodies that do that you know, that you can get certified. If you ask me, is it rocket science? It's not. Can people do it? They definitely can. It's not tough. What is tough is, I think the tough part about HR, you know, people operations, the tough part about HR, human resources, is actually dealing with the people. You gotta be empathetic, and also you have to have certain qualities to be a good HR person. And you gotta care for the people as well, right?
Building those relationships with the employees.
Yeah, it's that, but also seeing how can I, you know, it's called human resources for a reason. How can I expand this resource? Meaning, you know, how can I help them grow, and how can I make this work environment better for them so that they can, you know, thrive in this environment, right? And in turn, it helps the company as well, because your greatest asset is always your people, right? And that's where people operations comes in as well, because you're trying to think of strategic ways to whether it's improving your people or improving processes, or policies that can help the people and then to help the company, as a whole, to get closer to our business goals. So then you have, this is where the people, business partner comes in. There is a role for that does specifically more strategic side of things. But I think HR is not tough. You don't need to go to school for it. I'm going to tell you don't need to go to uni for it. If I can pick it up, just like that, if you can read everything, and do your research and, look at trends of how other companies around the world are doing it, then, you'll be fine, right? I started recruitment not knowing even how to recruit at all. But I think, it goes back to my strategic planning job. The boss that I worked with, the really tough one, she said that I don't need anyone to be, really good at strat. I just need them to have common sense and logic. As long as you have these two things and you're hardworking, and you know how to work smart, that's fine. Like, you can do a lot of things. So having things like knowing contract law would definitely help. Even I had to brush it up. I had to learn how to write contracts. But I don't know how other people do it. I can't speak for all HR people. Some people are more traditionalist. My company is very different. We're a bit more progressive and we're very human focused. Down to the point of writing a contract, we want to make it very very understandable, very human, right? Because heck, not everyone knows how to read a contract, and you have all these jargons, these law terms that
conditions.
No one understands it. No one knows what it means. And maybe only the lawyers know, right? And they write it in such a complex manner, so maybe to cover their asses. I don't know, but it's so complex that, and this an employment contract is for the people, right? It's a legally binding contract that says that you are working for a company, and the company will be accountable for certain aspects of your employment, and you are also liable for certain aspects if you break any rules or whatever, or any law. But it should be written in a human manner. It should be written so that any human being can understand it. So that's our approach actually on how we write contracts, policies, whatever it is, announcements. It has to be simple and straightforward. It shouldn't be too complex. So if you ask me, do you need contract law? Sure, it's good to know. But the way you write it, you don't have to come up with all this fancy law jargon. As long as it sounds professional, and you are writing it in proper sentences that when you read it back, you read it to yourself, okay, I know how to explain this, it's fine. Yeah.
So I guess another part that you say you did a lot of recruitment. So how was
so much
after doing so many recruiting, how do you sort of recruit and how do you sort of see a potential in someone that's beneficial to the company?
So the most painful part about recruitment is going through hundreds of CVs. That's the most painful part, because
Tedious.
oh my God, it's so tedious. And then you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why are people not putting enough effort in their CVs and writing a proper cover letter? Nobody writes cover letters anymore. The ones that do write cover letters, great. I'll usually put them through if they have something compelling, and usually that's where people stand out. But if all you're going to do is just submit a CV, if you don't have a good track record, I wouldn't even bother. I will sift through a CV for 3 seconds, and it takes me 3 seconds to say yep, okay, moving on, because you have so many. Right. I'm gonna tell you this, anyone who's applying for a job, please write a cover letter and put some effort in your CVs. Not just because you come from a cool popular company doesn't mean we're gonna hire you. you know, we want to see like what you actually have to offer, right? And usually I like reading cover letters because it shows that people are confident with their strengths and they know how to sell themselves, which is important as well. And they're very self-aware and they're sure to write a cover letter is not easy. And I would tell people to, you know, I get very frustrated when I look at really horrible series. I've seen some really bad ones. Like, oh my gosh. I just wonder like why people just can't put more effort in it. So that's the most painful part. The most rewarding part is actually interviewing and meeting people. You get all sorts of personalities and you get to know people, and you know their stories and also what are they motivated by. Sometimes you're just inspired by speaking to them. What we look for in my company in particular, and also personally as well, I look for maturity first. I think that's very important. If you're not mature, and I say maturity doesn't mean you have to be an old timer, you have to be like super duper wise or whatever, but having that emotional maturity, it shows when you can take feedback, when you are able to take time to process what other people say. You know, it's not about being, you know, a smart ass. Yeah, I will look for that first, because usually an interview you only have like 1 hour. You can look at skills, you know, you can ask questions about, sorry, not skills, but you can ask questions about how they would tackle problems. I look for people who can solve problems, because my company, Comfort Works, we are a company that loves to solve problems, and we are also a company that is always growing and learning. And if you're not growing and learning, like then this is not a company for you. We are very fluid and we're not very like rigid, and you know anything sort of goes. We're very agile as well, and if this is not the kind of culture that you're looking for, then I wouldn't recommend you joining.
I guess when people join a company, like what are the sort of things that makes it look attractive for a company? Is it, you know, mainly on the culture, or you know, like people, and or maybe it's more towards the job or salary? What are the sort of things that maybe a company can, you know, sort of offer? Or
what the company can offer. So we talk about employee value, right? Sure, the company can offer benefits and pay and all of that, but we are looking for people who are looking for that, because if that's what you're looking for, please go to an MNC because they have way better benefits and pay. But
right.
you know, the problem with that is that may not be as rewarding for you, right? You might have all these cool benefits, and you know you might get, you know, a pretty good pay, but it's very rigid. You know, there's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of rules, and you know might not be very happy at the end of the day because you don't have that much autonomy to do the work. What we offer is, you know, more on a cultural sense, whereby we're very human focused. We're very focused on the people and what they want as a person. And then we are also looking at people who want to grow and learn, who are able to collaborate with us, and they want that kind of environment. If they're not, this is what we offer, right? And if this is not something that they want to, not something they're looking for, then I wouldn't think that this is a company for them. Yeah.
And do you think this comes from you know, a mindset from based on the company, or is it like a I think also just in a sense, like, is there a difference between like a local company sort of a mindset thinking that's maybe controlled by, you know, management and how they view things, or is sort of like like you say, culture that, you know, that invites all these sort of things that makes a company more better? there's like certain companies that are they call it a very Asian mentality where I think it's mainly based on the management where they create this culture where it's a lot of hierarchy. You have to report a certain way. There's no fluidity in terms of the culture. I guess mainly on those international companies, then you sort of see like it's a more open, and I think there are a lot of flexible in terms of how they work, and also a more open culture as well. Is that how is that the sort of culture that you want to impart is in the current company, or and how do you sort of change the way that make people think that it's since it's Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard to sort of change from that mentality.
I think the people that we bring on, so we have 50% expats, 50% locals. I won't speak for the expats because obviously they came from companies that are a bit more open. But the locals, we've always seemed to find people who are a bit more eccentric, and also they've probably either come from a startup or have some sort of international exposure before. And I think that usually suits that. But both my founders were from Australia. They were studying there, and they were working there as well, and they came back to start their family, start their HQ here, and they brought the culture along. And I think they know what sort of culture they want. And I always say that we're very different from all your other companies out there, the local ones here. A bit more international, a bit more open, and I think that is an attraction as well. Yeah.
I guess I don't know because I think different company has different way of determine how successful a company is based on the culture they impart, and some see like maybe an open culture may be beneficial for them, and some say that maybe an Asian mentality that's more closed, that they feel that that's a successful. I guess it depends on the different companies, right?
It depends on companies, but it also depends on the size of the people. When you're in a smaller setting, when you only have like maybe 10-15 people, the culture is going to be different from when you're like 50 or 100.
Right.
The culture will evolve. The reason why bigger companies are more rigid, because at 200-300 people, it's just hard to sort of control and keep tabs on people, and that's why it becomes rigid, because a lot more policies are in place to make sure that people don't get ahead of themselves, and you can't the CEO or the bosses or whoever can't keep tabs on every single person. So it's almost like you let the policies run the culture of the company, and you have all this red tape because there's just not enough people, and the problem as well is because you're not sure of the people that's being hired. You're so high up, right? If you're on management, at some point you don't even know who's being hired. You don't even know their names as well. My boss was just telling me like, oh my god, we're at 50 people, I don't even know the newcomers' names or faces. And it happens, and that's why all these policies and that rigid culture just comes into play. And not that it is necessary, it depends how you view it. So I was recently I just actually started reading the book by Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, and he was talking about the culture in Netflix, how unique it was. And his idea was very was interesting. He didn't like policies. He wants a company that has no policies. There's no leave policy. You can take as many leaves as you want. People can just do sort of whatever work they feel that will bring best value to the company. There's not a lot of policies. Kept it really minimal. What he strived on was freedom and autonomy. That's basically that encapsulates the whole Netflix culture, right? And he was saying that you can do that, but you also want to make sure that you have talent density. You have make sure you only hire the best people in the market. That's how you do it. So his formula that he cracked was just hire the best people because they know what to do. And the reason why big companies, he says, the reason why big companies have all these different policies, they make it very rigid, very tough, to sort of get things approved and whatnot, is because you just hire terrible people sometimes, and they're sloppy and they're not accountable, and these policies are there to just sort of govern and to police and to make sure that people are on the right track. But if you hire people that are great, for your company, and who's very clear of the culture, who's accountable for their work, then his theory is you shouldn't need all these policies at all.
And yeah, I guess.
But his approach is very radical. I'm just saying, because he also believes that I should pay. Pay is not a problem. I can pay top dollar for the best talent. I don't care, even if I'm overpaying them. Yeah, but it's very radical, and I wouldn't say it applies for every company out there.
So I guess when you hire people, does it comes like when you hire a person is for the benefit of the company or for the benefit of the person that you're hiring, or it works both ways?
The person that I'm hiring, meaning that
like I'm representing you and saying that okay, this maybe is the company for you when I'm interviewing you that time.
That would happen if I am an external recruiter from a recruitment agency. I represent I don't represent the company, I represent the candidate. But I'm also, obviously it's a sales job as well, so I'm trying to match the candidate to the company, therefore I will get sale. And I'll get commission. Usually, obviously, as an in-house HR person recruiting, I'm hiring for the company for sure, 100%. And in some cases, if I feel like the person is not a match, really, even though the person really wants to join, I will sit down after the interview and sort of try to give them advice and say that what areas that they seem like they could go into instead. Not so much say whether are they. I'm not representing them. I don't owe them anything, but at the end of the day, I have to safeguard the culture and the type of people that we're hiring for in the company. And I don't know the person. I don't know the candidate. I only meet them for an hour, and this is what I've gathered, right? But we would definitely have to look after the company, who we bring in, and I'm very particular, like what sort of people we want to bring in, because the people will eventually shape the culture, and they are the ones that uphold the culture that we're trying to build. And you bring in the wrong person.
Yeah, so I guess it comes down to how interviewing and how, I guess I don't know, like, do you sort of have any sort of challenges after you hire the people? What are the sort of like challenges you face as a people operations?
Oh my god, plenty. The hiring is one part. So the entire employee life cycle, right, is from hiring, the recruitment phase, getting them on board, and then they're in the company. But within the company, our job doesn't stop there. They have to grow. Either they get promoted or succeed, or they learn new skills. Whatever it takes to be better at their job, right? Or for their own personal growth. Which my company, ComfortWorks, like, we focus a lot on personal and professional growth as well. And it's sort of like looking after every single individual and seeing like what do they need, how can we make them be better and give them a better environment, more conducive work environment to work in. And then obviously if it doesn't work out, they exit. So there's an entire employee life cycle. We have to look after every single aspect, even when they've left. I make sure we gotta make sure that they exit in a proper manner, in a decent manner as well. We don't want to say, okay, bye, here's your severance, and okay, you can F off. But we gotta make sure that people leave on a good note, right? Even when people are rejected from the job, we're gonna make sure that they know why, and also we gotta make sure that we communicate that properly as well. If you're on at the CV phase and I reject your CV, like, no hard feelings. I'm not gonna call you up and tell you that you have a shit CV. But if I've already spoken to you or reached out to you, usually we will call that person and tell them, like, you didn't make it, and tell them the reason why. If you ask me, how do they respond? Some people take it well. Some people just say, like, oh, and they'll be like, oh, okay, bye, and they'll just hang up.
Yeah, I guess, these are sort of skills that you learn, on the job. That did sort of like university sort of gave you, maybe a hint of, what the, all the jobs that you sort of went through, those kind of skills that I don't think you even learn how to make Google Slides in your uni days, right?
Nothing. Uni doesn't teach you any
Like
shit.
research or anything. It's
Uni taught me
how to think.
I don't know. I don't even know what uni taught me, to be honest. I honestly don't think you need to go to uni. Yeah, I'm serious.
Because I think based on just all the experiences that you have, it's always on the job, the sort of skills and the sort of things that you will just jump into the deep sea and you have to learn from yourself.
You learn through experience. That's the best way to learn, to be honest. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess from all the the challenges that you face from your agency and then now in people operations, so where do you sort of get your inspiration or ideas in terms of how to manage a certain challenge, or coming up with strategies for handling people or projects?
Read a lot. Go and read everything and anything. Do not limit yourself. I feel that you shouldn't, and people should read and learn as much as they can, but do not limit yourself to whatever domain that you're in. For example, if you're in design, don't just learn about design. Go learn about history. Go learn about music. Anything can be an inspiration, right? Same with people as well. I'm not just reading about HR. I'm reading about business management. I'm reading about leadership. I'm reading about memoirs of how other people are leading and or how people are living their life, because we are also looking after people's personal development as well in the company. Learn about how in history how people are politics, in terms of how things like how dynasties were led, or even like how back in royalty, how all these kings and queens used to lead their people. You can find inspiration from basically anything, and it will help you form your thoughts, because you're not just reading just to learn a concept. You're reading to eventually form your own concepts as well, and all these things can lead to inspiration. And I'm reading about how people are how companies are doing it in terms of culture, those self-development books as well, because sometimes you just have to even give advice to people in the company as well, and you want to be equipped with all this knowledge as much as possible. And personally, I read, but maybe for some people they could watch documentaries, or they could listen to podcasts, whatever it is. But the key is you have to keep learning. The day that you're not learning, that something is really wrong. And I also think that people should, there is no right answer to anything. Sometimes you just gotta experiment, take risks, and just go your gut feeling and just fail and learn from it, and fail as many times as possible. That's okay, but you gotta, in order to fail, in order to learn, you have to fail, right? Sometimes, and people sometimes will just learn and get inspiration from just doing. And the only way to do that is to make sure you take risks and always take chances and experiment and see what works and what doesn't. And it goes for anything that anyone does.
And I guess like for mistakes or sort of failures, how do you sort of manage that? Because sometimes when you they say like you can't really make the many mistakes of the same problem or something like that you
So the thing is, you have to, it's okay to make a mistake, but don't repeat the mistake again. You already know, make the mistake, reflect on like what went wrong basically, and how could have gotten better. But sometimes you gotta change your mindset as well. You gotta figure out like, okay, something, let's say something wrong happens, you gotta ask yourself, could this be an opportunity for something better instead? So you gotta have that openness as well. How to, people are afraid to fail. People are afraid to fail, whatever you do, right? You have to find some way to condition yourself to not be afraid to fail. I have a friend actually who started his own gaming company. He's close to launching his game right now. He's been developing it for more than 2 years. And I asked him, he went through a lot, he had to go get funding, he sold his car, he got married, and and he was managing a team, and he's my age, and he's our age, and he was so young, and he's like, oh my gosh, like, he's the last person I thought that would start a business.
Right.
So I asked him like, how are you so fearless and you're taking this chance to go work on a game, create a game that may not even sell, what we don't know. And he was like, I don't know, I failed 8 times in uni already. I think I'm kind of desensitized by it. But he's like, I failed so much and I feel like I have nothing else to lose anymore. And I guess that was just it. Like, once you failed enough, you realize that you have nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know. I think after so based on all the like experience that you had, what do you think maybe in your college or uni days that you have maybe done differently, or do you think that what you have gone through was sort of how you envision?
Definitely not what I envisioned. I stopped having any. I stopped in a certain point of my life. I just sort of realized. I think it was, I don't know when, like maybe in uni or whatever. I just sort of realized like, sort of no point planning ahead, because it feels like things just never go the way you want it to go. But I would tell myself, if I were to go back in time and sort of tell myself what I would have done differently, was to actually not plan, but to have goals, to have more, to know how to have clearer goals in your head. And it's okay if goals change, and and if you don't get it, it's fine. Have goals, be open to opportunities, but have goals, and make sure you spend enough time developing yourself. Yeah.
I guess like right now, as part of your being in people operations, do you still have that long hours from 8 to 2 a.m. or
I literally right now is a bit more flexible even, but 9 to 6, and then my company's really sort of they emphasize on making sure that we have time for ourselves. So it's really important to sort of like clock out and just go and focus on yourself. Yeah.
And I guess lastly is just to those whoever is maybe wanting to go into HR, or maybe wanting to go into the agency and whatnot, what would you say to them based on what you've gone through, and what are the things that they should know beforehand?
Expect nothing. Don't expect anything. Don't go in with your ego. Don't go in with any fears. Go in and try. And do and fail, get scolded, make mistakes, it's okay. Learn from it, don't repeat the mistakes, and that's it. There is no advice to it, really. Yeah, that's what I would tell people.
All right, I guess that's about it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Grace, for
Woohoo.
1 hour and half, 1 hour and 45 minutes.
No way! Wow, that was long.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yay,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
All right, and that was it. I a few videos ago I was like saying, okay, maybe let's do some let's make it shorter. I think for Tech one or even for with the one with Wilson, I think it's shorter, but I guess talking to Grace, there was just a lot of things to cover lah, and for her, I think strategy is really a big part in her life and in her career, and taking that into the HR department, now as people operations. So I feel like there is a lot of things that you can take from the creative industry and apply it in sort of like the traditional sort of work sort of position. And I feel like it's not a something to be afraid of. I feel like it can be applied. You just have to be open to it. And so I just feel really grateful for Grace to come over and talk about this and just talk about her experience and her career. And I guess I just want to close this whole this whole month of just interviews with friends, family, and I am really thankful for all four of you who have joined me in this sort of small little YouTube project that I'm doing. I think at the end of the day, it's about the close friends and family who have been just supporting and watching your videos, and I, from the bottom of my heart, really thank you to each and every one of you who see this video lah. Even if it's just 20 or less than that, or even like 10, I'm also really happy already. At least like there are people viewing this, and at the end of the day, it's not about the subscribers, the views, and just getting all the likes and all that kind of thing. At the end of the day, it's about passion, and to have the passion to do something, you always have to have the consistency to do it. And that's something that I lacked in sort of like the previous years that I've been doing YouTube, and I never really upload videos. I never really do it on a consistent basis. So I feel like this is the time, 2021 is the year of Gentleman, coming back with a explosion, so I think it's all about consistency lah, and just trying to churn out videos every week. And I think the first year, this year is the first year, so I just want to every month just trying different things. And at the end of the day, at the end of the year, just let's like do a review, and just over the year, over like 12 months, each month there's different themes, different things that I've been doing, and let's see what works and what sticks on the wall, and let's continue that next year, and let's just move on from that. So I guess it's more on the trends and or other YouTubers out there, what they have been doing, and I'm just trying to imitate, and not imitate in a sense like I'm just copying what people do. It's more like taking those ideas and trying to use that and put it out there on my YouTube channel. I think that's me. That's me in a nutshell. I've always wanted to try things. Try something that has been done before, or something that that is good, and I can sort of like, hey, I can actually do that as well. So, but I never really be good at that thing. Never really been like, oh, I'm skillful in this thing, or I'm great. I'm the one of the best. That's not really what I strive to be. I think at the end of the day, I strive to be the one who is able to try different things and try and at least attempt something. And this year is more towards trying to build that consistency and trying to just focus on that one particular thing, which is making YouTube videos and making that as a throughout the year, and let's just see where this takes me, and I just feel like every week it's sort of improving the mood, the wanting to do this every week. And I think it's been really really good for me personally. I feel like, okay, the first few weeks it was really tough. Like I was just dreading because the editing was taking so long, and just trying to talk in front of the camera also, it was really tough. And I think right now it's sort of the mojo is sort of there. I don't really have like the need to like feel so stressed about doing this, because I feel it's ongoing. And maybe sometimes you say like crazy stuff, or you say like maybe not so sensitive stuff, or sensitive stuff. Sometimes you might I don't know, just say something wrong or whatever. I think you learn from that. And I think it's just 3 months. What can you do, right? It's 3 months, and it's just one video 1 week. So I don't have much expectation. I just wanna just improve on conversing, on just talking in front of camera, talking to you, and having a conversation with people, with friends, with family. And I feel I've done that. And I think maybe, yeah, I guess engagement is not really the forefront here. Like there is not a lot of comments, or there is not a lot of like I don't know. There was not that sort of conversation going on. I feel that's maybe in the later part of this whole YouTube thing. But for now, I think it's mainly on me just trying to come out with more content every week. And yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next. So for next month, what I want to do is basically to react to videos. So, I don't know, all the video ideas that I have is basically watching PewDiePie and PewDiePie or Jacksepticeye, and what they do. And I'm just trying to do that with my channel. So, yeah, maybe I'll come up with some reality TV shows, and I'll just see what's good content. Sometimes maybe like local ones, that's maybe Says, or even chili sauce, or something like the Matcha Man, or something like that. Taking something from all these maybe reality TV, or something that's very interesting, and just watch it together. Something that you can watch on YouTube, and or just criticize on it, and just give my reaction. Something really bizarre, or something like they have all these like 10 guys versus one girl, or one girl or 10 girls versus one guy, that kind of jubilee videos. Maybe I can use that as well, like the 90-day fiance from TLC, if I'm not mistaken. So these are the sort of contents that I'll try to explore next month. Just talking about those kind of shows, and I'll try to find on YouTube if I can, and if I can't, then I'll just find something else. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I've rambled around along too much. And I feel I should stop there. Say goodnight to everyone. And this has been a very long video. I don't know whether all of you will have watched this video because it's now 2 hours long. Anyway, thank you so much everyone for tuning in, and thank you for those who I've been interviewed, especially Joelle, Tei, Wilson, and then now Grace. Thank you so much for doing this. It was just great talking to you guys, and I felt I've learned so much from each one of you. And I guess the interview would come back again. Maybe, who knows, I'll interview like those production people, because I've been in the production house for like 3 years, so maybe I can, if I have the courage to do so, I will. Just talking to those like art directors and producers, and even like the grip people, or the lighting people, or even makeup artists, just bringing them. Or maybe even I can bring my mom to come and talk about her nest dance or something. Talk about mahjong, or talk about healthy drinks, herbal drinks, or talk about how to cook or something like that. Maybe these are sort of things that I can do with this YouTube channel. I have all the freedom to do all this, and there are so many more things to do, and I'm just quite excited lah. So thank you so much everyone. Do leave a like and subscribe, and do comment if you have anything to say. If you don't have, it's fine, I'm still here. Next week there is still another video coming out, and till then I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much. Bye bye.